Ladies and gentlemen, we're back into Satisfactory and you should be most welcome indeed. Today we're going to look at how to set up a perfectly, accurately, very efficient 100% quartz and silica production. But before that, I have to show you a little bit of a correction. It is a little bit embarrassing, and I am trying very hard to make sure that all of the content that you see on this channel is 100% accurate and 100% working. So, if I ever make a mistake, I will not hide it from you. Instead, I will make a correction. And that is what I'm doing right now. So, what's the problem? Well, you remember our concrete manufacturing facility? Well, I had to add this splitter that goes over to a conveyor lift that feeds it back into a merger here. So basically, in theory, this setup should have worked, but because there is some sort of retardation when it comes to the resources being on the transport bands, and that it doesn't have like enough time to kind of stack up, even though if it would be like instantaneously transfer, it would work. It doesn't work in the practice. It means that this constructor, this and this, all three those are running at 100% efficiency, while this constructor were only running at 85% efficiency. Not cool. And that is just because the reason I just described. So, in this splitter, 30 is going there and 30 per minute is going there. However, 45 is needed. That's why, before it comes into this merger to be fed into this constructor, we have a splitter right here. And this splitter splits up the 30 per minute into this little vertical conveyor belt that feeds back into the first machines, which means that the first machine will indeed always get 45 limestone per minute. And that ensures it to be 100% efficient, because if we didn't do this, it would only be 85% efficient, while the other factories, while the other constructors, this and this, would of course be 100% efficient. But that's the little correction I have to make, and I hope that was useful for you if you missed it. And this is of course only true if you have the same type of setup as I did. If you have Mark III belts or anything like that, it doesn't matter. It's just because we had to part it up by one pure and one normal source, as we did. Riding on these lines are just so much fun. Remember that you don't need to click the spacebar to jump. Whenever you release it with your mouse button, you will automatically kind of jump, and you just steer back and forth with your left and right A and D keyboard, and you will get to the right position. Very handy. So here we are at my little manufacturing facility. And I'm going to show you to make a setup like this. And basically what it does, it mines quartz here. It divides it up. Not needed actually, just for convenience. And it then processes it into sacks of silica and quartz crystal. Very nice. And this particular little setup, which I've already completed, does sync it all, because it turns out that they produce some good points. You know, you gotta go for the good points until we actually need them. Then we're going to actually make them. Yeah. But anyways, so how do we do this? Well, of course we need a miner, so we're going to get a little equipment workshop, which I just removed. and just slap together a portable miner so we can do a Mark 1 miner. Now, what's the deal here? This is a pure source. You may or may not have access to a pure source. But in order to do this setup, you will need to have two normal sources or a pure source. You will need, in worst case scenario, 4 impure sources, but you will need to have 120 raw quartz per minute. And a normal Mark 1 miner does produce 120 if placed on a pure source, so this is an excellent starter production. And if you wanna go and find the best sources, just search for them and look at the map just how I showed you in earlier videos. And I will continue to try and make the next video ever shorter than the previous one. So check back in earlier videos for that. Then you can locate pure sources on the map. Super handy, just look. In any case, we're going to just prepare this little space here. We're going to use the global grid, also already covered, just because that makes everything much more simpler. So let's go with our little production here and our little miner. And we're gonna install our miner, and then we're going to set up 4 constructors. Right, so we have our constructors here, and remember, we need a Mark 2 belt in order to actually output this 120 per minute. And there is no need of overclocking it until we actually get Mark 3, and that's a while away. So now we're stuck with Mark 2 as an early setup as this is, and it should also be limited to that, of course. So, how do we set this up in a sensible manner? Because you might have noticed that the quartz values are a little bit weird. Not only that we do not need smelters, we will need constructors, just like concrete. So, if we just set this thing up here, we have the quartz crystal. And the quartz crystal, 37.5 per minute. Plus, what's the silica? 22.5. These are weird numbers. My ladies and gentlemen, these are weird numbers. But let me tell you, they are not weird at all. Because when we have actually processed these things and combined them again, yes, 37.5 plus 22.5 is exactly 60. So it makes a lot of sense. So 60. And then we have the silica for these two. 60 plus 60. So you can do this setup if you have a, 180, 60, everything that's basically times 60. You can set this up pretty easily without needing to overclock or underclock anything. And the output, as you can see, is reversed. 37.5 and 22.5. So the output of this facility will also be 120. Pretty handy. So, from one pure source, we can process it here and bring everything home. Just using one Mark II belt. Pretty handy. So, this is basically how you set it up. You need to have equal amount of silica production as you have quartz crystal production. And if you do that, it will be perfect and balanced. So, like we usually like to do, we will just set up a little merger belt here to merge them all together. Very handy. So just remember, basically the only thing you need to know is you need equal amounts of production for silica powder, like this, like silica, as you do need production for quartz crystal. And if you do that, everything will always be perfectly fine. And we also have a little special tip here for every one of you who also haven't transferred to coal power yet. Using biomass burners. And if you're a returning player, you may remember that flowers are absolutely useful and really horrible fuel. Well, turns out they're pretty good fuel. they are actually decent fuel. They are like, you can see this burn rate here. It's like more than double the burn speed of flower petals. Is that like more than double than biomass, but it's still so much better than leaves. It's actually kind of viable because you can stack them in like droves of 500. So if you really want to get rid of some flowers, well, you can now burn them in your biomass burners. I think it's really handy. I started burn a lot of my flowers because yes, I will need them for some decorations later, but to be honest, I will not need all of them, and I rather burn some of them. Burn, burn, burn. Anyways, we have merged together here. I do not know if my local power production will actually be able to take this, but I guess we'll notice. We connect this thing up here. Production goes up. And here we can see the raw quartz is coming on our Mark II belt and being fed into the machines. And of course, it will take some time for all of them to get booted up, and we shall see how well our power goes. This is one machine, two machines. Oh yeah, we're gonna blow the fuse. Yeah. We need another biomass burner. But we have indeed encapsulated this factory as well, as should we do with everything. So now we just have the output, and this factory is basically done, and all we need to do is to bring this to the home base. We're probably gonna have a little container stacking it up here. Now this is a mixed output of everything, but considering that we will be able to unlock smart splitters later, we might as well split them up later. We should, however, prepare our conveyor line at home. To drag our conveyor line home, we should prepare it by having like a foundation we can run them on, and also having the, let me show you the piece, the stackable conveyor pole, so that we can upgrade it and expand it later. We will of course want to connect up other resources to this lane we're going to build later, and well, it's gonna be an important thing. I think I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in a later video, but if you do not have anything to do with your quartz right off the bat, you should of course connect it up right to an awesome sink and gain some beautiful points, because they do produce a lot of points. In any case, hope you did enjoy this little video, and if you did, please leave a like and do stay tuned for future videos, and also check out the earlier ones, because this is a playlist. We have a playlist. For this is a tutorial series where we'll be going through basically all aspects of Satisfactory in due time. So, of course, we begin with the basic stuff, but we will come with the more advanced stuff later as we are moving forward. So, stay tuned for that. In any case, this is your host, Gmodism, and we're signing out.